bunch of the boys were whooping it up in the Mameloot saloon. The kid that handled the music box was hitting a jagtime tune. And back at the bar on a solo game sat Dangerous Dan Magrew. And watching his luck was his light of love, the lady that's known as Lou. And out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with one foot in the grave and scarcely the strength of a louse, but he tilted a poke of dust on the bar and called for drinks for the house. There was none could place that stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for a clue. But we drank his health, and the last to drink was the lady that's known as Lou. There's men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold them hard like a spell, and such was he, and he looked to me like a man who had lived in hell, with a face most hair and a dreary stare of a dog whose day is done. He watered the green stuff in his glass, and the drops fell one by one. I got to figuring who he was and wondering what he'd do. I turned my head, and there watching him was the lady that's known as Lou. His eyes went rubbering round the room, and he seemed in a kind of a daze, till that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink, there was no one else on the stool, so the stranger stumbles across the room and flops down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. He clutched the keys with his talon hand. My God, how that man could play. We were ever out in the great alone when the moon was awful clear, and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you could almost hear, with only the howl of a timber wolf, and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for that mud-cold gold, while high overhead, green, yellow and red, the north lights swept in bars. Then you've a hunch what the music meant, the hunger, the mice and the stars. The hunger, not of a belly kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home, and all that means. For a fireside, far from the cares there are, four walls and a roof above, but oh so crammed full of cosy joy, and crowded with a woman's love. A woman dearer than all the world, and true as heaven is true. God, how ghastly she looks to her rouge, that lady that's known as Lou. Then all of a sudden the music changed, so scarce that you could hear, but you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that would once held dear. Someone had stolen the woman you loved, and her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone, and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. And I'll guess I'll make mine as Tres Misere, said Dangerous Dan Magrew. The music almost dies away, then it burst like a penthouse flood, and it seemed to say, repay, repay. My eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong that stood like a frozen lash, and lust awoke to kill, to kill. Then the music stopped with a crash. The stranger turned, and his eyes they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat, and I saw him sway. Then his lips went into a kind of a grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. And boys, says he, you don't know me, and none of you give a damn. But I want to state my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound from hell, and that man is Dan Magrew. Then I ducked my head, and the lights went out, and two guns blazed. A woman screamed. The lights went up, and two men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and full of lead was Dangerous Dan Magrew, while the man from the creeks lay clutched to the breast of the lady that's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case, and I guess I ought to know. They say the stranger was crazed with hooch, and I'm not denying it so. I'm not as wise as you lawyer guys, but strictly between us two, the woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou.